In the spring of 2020, something extraordinary happened over the Mojave Desert. One by one, the largest passenger aircraft ever built began descending from the sky. Airbus A380 superjumbos from Qantas, Lufthansa wide-bodies, Emirates flagships. Planes that had carried millions of passengers were parked in the dirt, engines sealed, windows covered, left to bake under the California sun. To the outside world, it looked like a graveyard. But here's what nobody told you. Parking one of these planes costs more per month than most people earn in a year. And the airlines were doing it on purpose. Why would a company worth billions pay to abandon its most expensive assets in the desert? Why not sell them? Why not scrap them? And why, when experts said these planes would never fly again, did almost every single one end up back in the sky? The answer rewrites everything you think you know about how airlines actually make money. There's also one aircraft in this story that almost didn't make it back. An airline that publicly declared it dead, then quietly reversed course when no one was watching. We'll get to that. But first, why the desert? Why does this specific patch of dirt in California hold the fate of a multi-billion-dollar industry? The answer starts with something invisible: moisture. A commercial aircraft is essentially a flying aluminum tube held together by tens of thousands of fasteners and seals, nearly all destroyed by humidity faster than anything else. A single year of outdoor storage in a wet climate can cause millions in corrosion damage. Sometimes it's irreversible. But the airlines knew this. And somewhere in the 1940s, a small group of engineers quietly identified two patches of land in the American Southwest that would become the most strategically valuable real estate in aviation history. The Mojave receives less than 6 inches of rain per year. Tucson sits at over 2,400 feet, with humidity so low that metal barely oxidizes at all. The soil is so hard and flat that aircraft weighing 400 tons can be towed across it without paving a single inch. Remove those conditions, and the entire economics of aircraft storage collapses overnight. But here's what nobody talks about. Storing a plane in the desert isn't about keeping it from rusting. It's about keeping it alive, breathing, ready. And that distinction between a plane that's dead and a plane that's merely sleeping is worth hundreds of millions of dollars to the right airline at exactly the right moment. Now let's talk about the number they don't put in the press releases. Parking a single wide-body at facilities like Southern California Logistics Airport in Victorville, just the space costs between $10,000 and $30,000 every month. That's before the preservation crews, before the specialized oils pumped into engines to stop metal from eating itself, before the foil wrapping and moisture seals. A full preservation job on one Airbus A380 runs close to $1 million just to put it to sleep. And here's what they don't teach you in business school. Qantas had 12 A380s and 10 747s in storage at once. Lufthansa had 14 superjumbos stored at Teruel Airport in Spain. Emirates was managing over 100 wide-bodies across multiple sites. The global airline industry was burning hundreds of millions of dollars every month just to park planes in the dirt. And yet almost none of them sold. Almost none got scrapped. Because a properly preserved aircraft holds its full value on the balance sheet. Part it out, and the asset vanishes. The airlines that kept their planes weren't protecting an asset, they were protecting an option. The option to come back faster than anyone else when the world reopened. In aviation, speed of recovery isn't an advantage. It's the difference between owning a route and losing it forever. The smarter airlines understood that. They paid the bills month after month and waited. But one airline flinched. They looked at their A380s baking in the desert and made a decision their own CEO would have to publicly reverse on camera in front of the entire industry. And the reason they flinched? It wasn't the money. It was something quietly building inside the company for years before the pandemic ever started. Most people assume bringing a stored aircraft back to life is simple. Refuel it, start the engines, fly away. They are wrong in a way that would terrify them if they knew. A wide body in storage for over a year requires up to 1,000 hours of labor before it's cleared to carry a single passenger. 6 months of full-time work on one airframe, and that's if everything goes well. Every seal inspected, every control surface cycled. The landing gear retracted dozens of times before anyone trusts it at altitude. And then there are the engines. This is the part the airlines don't advertise. The first test runs are treated like surgery. Engineers listening for sounds that shouldn't be there, vibration signatures outside tolerance, temperature readings hinting at degradation invisible to the eye. One engine that fails doesn't get patched, it gets pulled and replaced. That bill alone runs into the tens of millions. And before any passenger steps aboard, the aircraft must pass rigorous FAA airworthiness certification, a process that can add months to the reactivation timeline. Airlines knew all this going in, and they paid it anyway. Because in 2022 and 2023, buying new aircraft wasn't just expensive, it was almost impossible. Boeing's 787 Dreamliner program was paralyzed by production issues. The Boeing 7777X was years behind schedule. Airbus had a decade-long backlog. The desert wasn't a graveyard. It was the only inventory left. And that's when the airline that had publicly declared its A380s dead sold 6 back to Airbus, told shareholders the type had no future, suddenly found itself with a very serious problem. The airline was Lufthansa. In 2020, with all 14 of its A380s parked in deep storage, Lufthansa announced the type was finished, permanently retired. Their executives said it on camera, repeatedly. Then, demand came back, not slowly, like a wall of water. International travel rebounded faster than every forecast predicted. Routes filled up, premium bookings surged, and the airline that had buried its superjumbos was staring at a capacity crisis it couldn't solve. There were no wide-body aircraft available anywhere, at any price, except in the desert. In June 2022, Lufthansa quietly announced it would reactivate an unspecified number of A380s. No press conference, a single carefully worded statement. By January 2023, the first reactivated A380, registration Delta India Mike Kilo, flew to Manila for months of restoration work. By September, Lufthansa had committed to 8 superjumbos returning by 2025. 8 planes from a fleet they had declared dead. Reactivating one A380 from deep storage runs between $10 and $25 million. For 8 aircraft, that's somewhere between $80 and $200 million. To undo a decision that took 3 months to make. And Lufthansa wasn't alone. Etihad reactivated 4 A380s in December 2022. Qatar Airways CEO had publicly called the A380 the airline's biggest mistake, then operated over 1,000 A380 flights in the first 4 months of 2023 because it had no other choice. Airline after airline, the same pattern. The declaration, the silence, the quiet reversal. The desert had been right all along. Here's what's strange. None of it was secret. The fees, the costs, the announcements, all on the record. But most people looked at those planes and saw exactly what they were supposed to see. A graveyard. They were looking at the wrong thing. The desert wasn't where planes went to die. It was where airlines went to think, to hold their breath, to bet on the future with hundreds of millions of dollars and nothing but dry air and hard soil as collateral. And the airlines that understood that came out the other side holding something priceless. Not just aircraft, options. The ability to move when their competitors couldn't. That's the real economics of storing retired airliners in the desert. It was never about the planes. It was always about time. Because the most expensive thing you can ever lose isn't money or equipment or market share. It's the ability to act when the moment arrives. Lufthansa lost that ability for 2 years. It cost them up to $200 million to buy it back. And they were the lucky ones, because the desert still had planes left to give them.